In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a 3D exploded view of your Revit project. I'm currently in the only 3D view in this particular project file. First thing I'm going to do is make a duplicate. So right-click, duplicate view. And I'm going to rename that view to the exploded view. Okay, now this is going to go on the cover sheet of this drawing set. And the sheet is going to be rectangular with an index of drawings in the lower right-hand corner. So to do this part of the project, and to leave room for that index, you want to either go to the view with the masonry structure on the bottom, or the view with this corner of the project at the bottom. So if I go up to the navigation cube here, I could do this one that I've got on the screen right now, or I could go over to the far corner and do it like this, and that will leave some room for the drawing index. Now, the goal of this is to show some of the construction that is invisible to us because some of these forms are closed, or certain elements or components are covered. For example, this one right here, we haven't come and put any doors and windows. We can't really see a lot of the construction that's under here. The same thing goes for the one that was made out of the precast. So this is going to take maybe a little bit of planning and trial and error. All of your projects are going to be slightly different in the way that they look and what you're going to be showing. But just to give you an illustration of how this works, if I was to select this wall element right here, what I do is I go to modify and walls here, and I'm going to click on displace element, and I'll use the arrow controls here to kind of open up some of the walls. Now, for this one, we created a separate wall element for the interior finish, and I can do the same thing with that. I could keep both of them together and pull it out a little bit. I could just, put them quite close. And basically the idea would be that I can start to see some of the content from inside the structure. Some other things that you might consider doing as part of this process would be to hide some of the components. For example, this roof, it's made up of those layers of insulation. You could right-click and go to hide in view and hide that element. And again, you just need to sort of make some decisions about how far you want to pull things away and what you want to show. I would try, if possible, to show as much of the structural kind of framework of the individual structures of the four structures as you can. But again, this is up to you how you want to kind of articulate the assembly of the various structures. Some of them are a little tricky to grab. You may find that you have to tab through elements to pick what you want to pick. For this one, I'm going to try to raise that upper part of the waffle slab a little higher. And then hopefully we can see a little bit of the column, the masonry column that's in the middle of the project. So that I can show some of the foundation structure, I'm going to hide that topography surface. You should be able to kind of group or choose a few things in your selection set and move them together also. So there's, the foundation wall and the footing move down. And I can try to move the slab down a little bit. To expose part of the pier and footing for that masonry column. You want to use some caution with this waffle slab. At some point I unjoined them, so some parts are joined and some aren't. If you start moving around some pieces and not others, it may make it a little confusing about what's happening, but you can use your judgment to see what would be best in that case. You may find that some of the items don't allow you to kind of explode them out. And just one word of caution, be careful not to actually delete them or erase them from the project, because these explosion moves will affect this particular representation. But if you actually remove them from the project, it's going to have impact on all the views in the project file. So this is the hollow core slab surface here, and it's like I'm not able to explode those, so I may instead just hide some of them in the view so that I can see more of the structure beyond. So in order to hide some of these components, I had to select the entire slab first and hide that element, and then come in and individually hide the hollow core slabs. So in this case, I'm going to hide a few of them at the center so I can see some of the detail of that center column. And I also moved the lower slab a little bit out of the way so I could see more detail for those piles that are below the pile caps. Sometimes leaving a little bit of overlap can help to define where something is in space. If I was to take this pier and move it down farther, it becomes a little bit more difficult to gauge where it's happening spatially. But if I place it so it's slightly behind something, then it's a little bit easier to read that location. If you'd like to turn some of the things back on that you had hidden, you can click on the Reveal Hidden Elements tool and go in and select those individual elements, and then click on the same tool at the bottom to have them appear. So I'm going to turn back on a couple of these hollow core slabs. I'll right-click and unhide them in the view, and then hit the light bulb, and so now they're turned back on. And you can hide the datum lines as well. I'm going to hide that category. Right now, we're just in a preset view, but you may find that you'd like to have a slightly different angle. Maybe it shows a little bit more of the structural arrangement and organization of the various structures. But basically, this is the idea, is to try to reveal some of the details and material assemblies in the project. And if you do alter the view using Orbit, you may want to kind of, adjust where you're placing things. Like, again, I think that this is a little bit more easy to understand where it occurs if you allow it to have a little bit of overlap with some of the content below. Same thing goes for the parts over here that I extruded off of the roof. They're kind of floating a little too high, and so we can't really tell the relationship that they have with the structure below. So I'm going to pull those down a little bit.